The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To scratch and major itch. So enjoy your fruity pebbles, you yabba dabba bitch.
The God Almighty! They've killed him! And CM Punk, and I am the voice of the voiceless.
Be the man! You gotta beat the man! Woo, woo, woo! You know it. I got okie doke by Little Jimmy!
Live from the Pro Wrestling Report studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is Monday Night Meltdown with your hosts, Dameon Nelson and David Hero.
I'm proud to say we're doing things the Vince McMahon way.
That's the bottom line. What? Cause Stone Cold said so.
Bringing you all the latest news and views from professional wrestling. Monday Night Meltdown is on the air.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Monday Night Meltdown. Dameon Nelson coming to you here along with David Octavius and Tiberius Hero. What an active WWE RAW tonight. What an amazing amount of stories being told tonight. In the middle of that ring, and even outside the ring, some laughter, some comedy, some drama, and some wrestling. It could be all that you ever need on WWE programming, and we got it tonight. Want to welcome all of you joining us all over the world here on Blog Talk Radio, and want to welcome all of our correspondents who are joining us as well, including David Octavius and Tiberius Hero. David, a lot going on Raw tonight.
A lot of shenanigans, a lot of character development. I mean, talk about an exciting Raw. It was actually fun to watch.
This is the best Raw in a very long time, in my opinion. And you know, there were several highlights, but one highlight I think we just need to share with all the people listening out there, because tonight WWE chartered a jet and took a direct flight to Planet Funk. David, you know what? At first, when Brodus Clay made his debut finally on WWE RAW, that's what you just heard. He came back, and he came in as from Planet Funk, the Funkasaurus, using Ernest the Cat Miller's old music. And this, I'm going to say it, was tremendous, especially if you rewatch what it was. It was fun. It was entertaining. I'm bought in. I'm sold on Brodus Clay.
Well, at first, for me, it was absolute sheer terror. This is a guy that I've been a fan of for a long time. And I'm like, what in the blue hell? I mean, this PN News, I mean, what the heck is going on with this monster heel? But, you know, it actually makes sense. I mean, Brodus Clay comes out with that same old look, just a badass-looking character. Where does he really fit in on Raw? I mean, you already have the monster heel Kane that is scaring the bejeebies out of the current U.S. champion, Zack Ryder, and doing damage to John Cena. So you don't need to have two big monster heels on Raw. So, hey, why not dress them up the same way they did to Dusty Rhodes when he came out with the black and yellow polka dots, the same way they did with Akeem, the African Dream, the same way they did things with Viscera and Rikishi. They made a character. And that was probably, it makes the most sense for Brodus Clay right now. I mean, once I sat back and I watched it and I rewound it, it kind of reminded me of an edgier Too Cool. Like how Scotty and Grandmaster and Rikishi would dance in the ring. You watch, the fans are going to get behind this character, and they're going to make some money with big Brodus Clay.
Absolutely. And, the whole thing was almost a rib in and of itself. The teasing of the debut over the last several weeks, if not months, and then the return happening tonight. I mean, you want to talk about a surprise left field, something new, something different. While it is, of course, rooted back in several gimmicks we've seen in the past, he delivered, and he made it work. And let's not forget the Funkettes that were with Brodus Clay tonight on Raw. David, I loved it. It was great. And we want to hear your comments, of course, about Brodus Clay and several other things that happened tonight during WWE RAW. We're taking your calls, several of you already on the phone lines, 877-317-9772. 877-317-9772. We're going to be getting to your calls when we enter the phone zone in just a little while, but all still to come here on the Pro Wrestling Report Monday Night Meltdown tonight. We're going to talk about TNA Genesis from last night. We're going to be joined by Matthew Thomas to talk about last week's Smackdown. We're going to be joined by Meathead and Dwayne Williams to talk about TNA and part of Genesis, as I talked about before. We're going to be taking your phone calls. Linda Kay will join us with the news. It is a stacked show tonight. And, David, I'm very, very happy that it was a stacked Raw tonight as well, because it always makes the show go by that much better. We want to welcome everybody joining us.
No, go ahead. Hey, I'm listening.
We want to welcome everybody joining us in the chat room on Blog Talk Radio as well. Hundreds of you in there talking right now. And also on our Facebook page. A lot of discussion on our Facebook page about what we just played and what we were talking about. Brodus Clay on Raw, including a poll on our Facebook page right now where we're asking, what did you think of Brodus Clay returning to WWE Raw tonight as the Funkasaurus? You can tell us thanks, pal, or no thanks, pal, and get your votes in now. We'll get to those results after we're done talking about Raw in a few minutes here on the program. Other newsworthy items on Raw tonight, David Hero, it was the follow-up to Chris Jericho's return on Raw last week. And tonight he came out and got a little bit emotional in that ring and got a little more sentiment from the fans. And I think a lot more fans realized the brilliance of Chris Jericho tonight.
Well, I don't know if it was actually brilliant tonight. I mean, I just sat there. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this all over again, week number 2. Eventually he's going to have to say something, because this could very well backfire on them, where the fans aren't even going to care pretty soon.
Really? How so?
I don't understand. Well, it's uneventful. He did the same thing last week, and now it's one. He could have changed it up a little bit. He could have done something different, but he didn't. And he could have teased he was going to talk. He could have had the mic and done something else, but it was almost verbatim. If you can even use verbatim when he didn't even talk, the same way as last week. I don't know. I mean. Yeah, last week it was funny, okay. He got one over everybody, and now he's doing it the second week. Eventually, he's got to do something.
Are you just too smart? Are you being cynical again? Was it not more obvious and maybe more enjoyable this week? Because remember earlier on, they tried to explain away, earlier on tonight in Raw, they tried to explain away Jericho's bizarre behavior of last week by saying he got emotional, so emotional, to the point where he could not talk to the fans or could not address the WWE Universe. They're playing that angle up again tonight. At least there's some explanation this week for it. When he finally speaks, I think it's all going to have been worth it. I just don't know when that's going to happen, and I would say you could be right.
You know what?
It could only go for so long.
I don't think he's going to speak until he's provoked. Here's how I look at it. Obviously, they're concerned that whoever they put Chris Jericho in a promo with, a program with, that Jericho is going to be far more cheered and respected and loved. Mm-hmm. Maybe it is, Jericho versus CM Punk, and maybe they're trying to get as much heel heat on Jericho as possible, so that when it is the match between Punk and Jericho, that everyone knows who the babyface and who the heel really is. But I could see this going on through the Royal Rumble, and then CM Punk finally comes on and says, you know what, I've had enough. And then that's when it kicks off. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho does this for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, also tonight, the show, Raw, opened with Kane coming out and being very, very descriptive in his feelings for not only John Cena, but also for the fans there, and again, asking people to embrace the hate. The hate not embraced by John Cena, who came out immediately attacked Kane. Kane and John Cena take the fight back to the back of the arena and to the docks outside the arena. And then Kane vanishes, disappears. Now, throughout the course of the evening, we see Kane stalking John Cena's new best friend, or BFF, if you will, Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder, not wrestling tonight, doesn't have a match. He wants to go on a date with Eve, but they get a flat tire. Kane then attacks during the John Cena-Dolph Ziggler matchup, and it took Dolph Ziggler a long time to change that tire outside on that Kia Soul.
No, we're talking about Dolph Ziggler would have changed the tire.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Zack Ryder had the issue with it.
Zack Ryder, I'm sorry. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but I am going to be making a new announcement of my latest endorsed talent tonight right here on this very program. So as our dear friend, the Road Dogg, would say, if you didn't know, your ass better call somebody, because it's breaking news.
Well, I can only imagine if you're going to endorse now. It better not be Brodus Clay. That's all I'm going to say.
It won't be Big Johnny.
That's my guy.
It won't be Big Johnny, the new name of the general manager of Raw. Again, solid effort tonight by John Laurinaitis, who said to The Miz, who was seeking some protection from R-Truth, said, I'm no little Jimmy, but I am Big Johnny. And that, again, one of those things that just immediately stuck. And now Johnny Ace is Big Johnny. Now, talk about another character that the universe is now embracing, even if they may not realize that they are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now, that's why Raw is getting over with the fans tonight, because of the characters. It's something new. I mean, when wrestling was hot, was when you had the characters, when you had, like, as an example, from Doink the Clown to DX to Mankind, just, you don't want to always see just a regular guy coming out. You want to see an extension of that person.
Yep. And we got that with Planet Funk tonight. Also tonight, Johnny Ace, Big Johnny, saying to Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler, and Vicky Guerrero that at the Royal Rumble, Guerrero and Swagger would be banned from ringside. That matchup between CM Punk and Jack Swagger ended in what was portrayed as controversial as the referee, Jack Doan, seemingly went for the 3 count. Well, it wasn't seemingly. Zack, why can't I get his name right? Jack Swagger. Jack Swagger's shoulder was clearly up when the third count fell.
Put the Jameson away.
Oh, the Jameson,
after the show.
No, the Jameson is not sinking in. No worries.
Okay, all right. Just making sure.
But how about the end of that matchup between CM Punk and Jack Swagger, the All-American, American?
Jack Swagger once again proves he can hang with all these guys. I mean,
they had a great match.
He can go. He's talented. Yeah, I mean, he's done it before. He's done it with, John Cena and Alberto Del Rio, and now with CM Punk. I mean, he is able to get in there and do some cool stuff.
And they did deliver tonight, and regardless of the finish of the matchup, I think the match was complete basically at the point in which the 3 count occurred, and not many people talking about that controversy at the end of that matchup, but does it not set up the perfect scenario for the guest referee Big Johnny coming up at the Royal Rumble?
Absolutely, and that's why it was done. It was to show that, hey, Johnny Ace, Big Johnny, John Laurinaitis is not going to make a mistake. He's going to be the guy that is smarter than all the other referees. So it was well done. If it was a mess up or a botch or whatever, believe me, Vinnie Mac and the producers would not have shown that replay so many times.
A couple of announcements tonight, David Hero. People announced as new inductees, or the first 2 inductees into the WWE Hall of Fame. I got to say, both are very surprising. One is arguably a little early, and the other is definitely a bit complicated. We're going to talk about those inductees in just a moment. But first, David, I want to talk about a little bit about what we were talking about a moment ago with Big Johnny and this whole story with CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler at the Royal Rumble. I don't think we can lose sight of the fact that between December 18th and January 29th, WWE has had time and will have time to build the Royal Rumble as a pay-per-view event. Is this not proof, what we've seen over the course of the last few weeks and what we probably are going to see going forward, is this not proof that there are too many pay-per-views in WWE right now? Because when they have time to build forward and move forward, they can do it. And they proved again tonight that they can continue to build those stories. Look at how slow the build has been between Kane and John Cena. Granted, they touched each other for the first time tonight. But now look at Dolph Ziggler still getting elevated on the card. They're building and working on things with Wade Barrett, Sheamus, whoever it may be. They've got a big task in front of them because they've got to build the Royal Rumble in its entirety and make so many people look like they have a chance of winning to make the Royal Rumble overall a great match and a great pay-per-view. This is really testament to the fact that more time equals better overall wrestling results and more intrigue and interest, perhaps, in the pay-per-view events.
Well, and they're doing that because certain guys like John Cena and CM Punk and who knows about Randy Orton, but some of the bigger stars aren't going to be in the Rumble. So, of course, now that opens it up for somebody else to come in and steal that limelight.
Well, we'll see how things continue to progress on WWE television. A very good Raw tonight. I mean, I'm almost giddy. It was a good Raw. I mean, I can't find anything. I can't find anything I want to say about it being bad. I mean, did I miss anything, or would you consider anything to have been bad tonight on WWE Raw?
Anything.
It was a well-rounded show.
The only thing I didn't like, and this has nothing to do with Zack Ryder as a person, I don't think creative did a good job of protecting their investment. I don't understand why they would have one of their bright young baby faces running away from Kane. Now, yes, I understand that Kane is the big red machine and he's the monster, but I don't know how it made Zack Ryder a bigger star in the eyes of the fans by having him run away. Maybe if he would have fought back a little bit.
It's the big red machine. It's the big red monster. It's Kane. Really? Really? Really?
Absolutely. I mean, he's been in the ring with Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, a few times, and he didn't run away from him. I'm just saying, I understand that they want to make Kane the big monster, but why not have him chase around other guys in the back? They needed to establish Zack Ryder as a legitimate player, a legitimate threat, a main event caliber star, and they did not do that, not at all. So this is no knock on Zack Ryder.
I did not think you would take this time to spin this into more Zack Ryder hate. I thought you were a broski.
Well, bro, this is no hate. I'm just saying, hey, if they didn't do Zack Ryder any favors. This has nothing to do with him. This is just the creative aspect of what's going on the Raw brand. I think they're making a big mistake. There's other guys that they could have had Kane chase around in the back, but this does nothing to make Zack Ryder become a bigger star. And once again, it's not directed at Zack Ryder. This is about creative.
Did you say at Zack Ryder because you're predicting the Twitter hate that might show up?
I know. Believe me, I know.
We're finalizing the guest list for our private party at WrestleMania, and he's on the list, so you might want to make sure you're being as clear as possible because I don't want a fight to occur over the punch bowl.
Listen, all I got to do is throw on a red jumpsuit and a Kane mask, and I'll be just fine.
Wow. Two big announcements of inductees into the WWE Hall of Fame tonight on Raw, the first of which being the Rated R superstar Edge. Edge, of course, forced into retirement last year. This makes him a part of WrestleMania 28 in Miami. This, a high-profile announcement, one that the fans reacted very favorably to. But I was a little surprised, David, here. I can't tell you I went into this year's Hall of Fame class thinking that Edge would be a part of it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, is it too soon? Maybe. Pretty much, I would think so. But, boy, I mean, if you think about it, who's left? I mean, I don't believe they're going to put the Macho Man Randy Savage in with the Four Horsemen, with Edge, and with, I'm guessing, The Rock. So let's take Savage out of the equation. The Rock is going to go in. He's got to go in Miami. It makes the most sense.
No doubt.
But and you got to figure Ric Flair, he's going to be there. You don't listen. They contacted Flair and said, "Hey, we want to put the Horseman in. Can you be there?" Of course, he's going to be there.
Well, let's not forget the dirty little secret of last year's WrestleMania. Ric Flair was there.
Oh, yeah.
On his own doing.
He was even mentioned, but not by name.
No, exactly. Ric Flair was there. Why? Because he wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to be there for some of the inductions. And you got to venture to say that it's been 2 years since Ric Flair went into TNA. And his time is probably almost up in that company, and he's not a dumb man. He's a smart man, and I think it's going to be a good thing if Ric Flair's got to be a part of it. Look, you can't induct, WWE may try, things fall through, but you can't induct the Horseman without inducting Ric Flair. Like, think about how great that, Ric Flair, J.J. Dillon, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, that's the Horseman,
Barry
right?
Windham.
Okay, Barry Windham. But some people are talking about, what about Benoit? What about Mongo McMichael? What about Dean Malenko? You know what? It's like if you talk about the NWO. When you think NWO, who are the major players? Hogan, X-Pac, Nash, and Hall. Not all the other people that were in it. So you look at the core, I'm sure almost all those people will probably be in attendance, and let's not forget Malenko works for WWE. I'm sure they're going to be in attendance, but this is going to be a huge Hall of Fame induction. When you look at The Rock, who's definitely going to be added, what was announced in Mexico already with Mil Mascaras, and also with Edge, of course. And I differ with you, David Hero. I definitely think the Macho Man Randy Savage will indeed be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Personal differences aside between him and whoever in WWE, it's the right thing to do. They've got to do it. And keep in mind, the people who we want in the Hall of Fame now that aren't in, for the most part, don't want to be in it. Bruno Sammartino is the key point. He's not in the Hall of Fame because he has made public he's not going to allow himself to be inducted. Now, you talk about the King Kong Bundys and some other people, and then things get a little bit more dicey. But I really think this is going to be a year where that Hall of Fame is going to be a huge event, because last year and the year before was, some would say, a bit of a dud.
Well, it's also going to depend on how big is the venue for the Hall of Fame this year. I mean, it's in a 25,000-seat building.
Yes, it's in the American Airlines Arena.
Well, you know what? Then they might put Macho Man in, but it's going to sell out regardless if Macho Man is there or not. You know what I mean? And honestly, I don't. The last time they had all these studs and all these, stars going into the Hall of Fame was in California when it was Hogan and Piper and Orndorff and Bob Orton and Sheik and Volkov. I mean, for me, I think that was the best Hall of Fame in a long time. So now if you put in Macho Man and you put in The Rock and you have Edge and the Four Horsemen and Mil Mascaras, and you got to figure Carlos Colon is going to go in as well. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And, I think I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm just going to say Ric Flair is going to be there. He's got to be.
Oh, Ric Flair will be there. There's no question at all.
And it's sad. It really is sad. We did the post show for TNA Genesis last night. We're going to be talking to our TNA correspondents in just a minute about Genesis. But Genesis is a way back distant memory at this point. And it was just last night on pay-per-view with Ric Flair accompanying Gunner to the ring.
Isn't that what they've been doing lately, though? Whenever there's been a TNA pay-per-view, it always seems like Raw comes out and just does something different.
Yeah.
It creates buzz.
Also tonight on Raw, David Hero, and one last point about the Hall of Fame, our dear friend Arda Okal of the Aftermath radio show has just sent out a tweet as he has spoken to Edge, and if he has his choice, he said Christian will be the one inducting him at the Hall of Fame in 2012 down in Miami, Florida. So big news coming out there.
That's going to happen. There's nobody else that should do it except for him.
Yep. Daniel Bryan had a match with Kofi Kingston tonight, a confrontation with The Big Show where the match was made for this Friday's Smackdown. No disqualification, no count-out between The Big Show and Daniel Bryan. And every word that came out of Daniel Bryan's mouth tonight, David Hero, to me said, I'm a heel. It was not necessarily what he said. It was how he said it.
Mm-hmm. A little cocky, a little arrogant, a little bit of swagger in his voice. It's going to be interesting. It really is. I mean, they're definitely they're going to put Big Show in a tough spot. And you know what? You got to wonder if they're going to do the thing with Shaq. Is Shaq going to be at ringside? At one of these matches against Daniel Bryan and somehow get involved, or because you got to figure if Big Show's going to work a program with Shaq, the last thing you want is for Shaq to cut a promo saying you couldn't beat a guy that's 5 feet tall. What makes you think you can beat me? So they got to be careful as to how they're going to do this.
That's a very, very valid point. And we're going to be taking your phone calls, ladies and gentlemen, in just a few minutes. You know the number. You see it on the screen there. It is 1-877-317-9772. We're going to the phone zone talking about WWE RAW. And after that, we're going to talk to Matthew Thomas about last week's Smackdown. Then Linda Kay joins us for the news desk. And then Meathead and Dwayne Williams join us to talk about TNA Genesis. And then we end the show with the phone zone. This is Monday Night Meltdown, a very active Monday Night Meltdown here on Blog Talk Radio.
Monday Night Meltdown continues after this, live on Blog Talk Radio. Don't forget to follow PWR right here on Blog Talk Radio right now. Be reminded of upcoming episodes and never miss Blog Talk Radio's most popular sports show. Follow PWR now. There's only one place to get the latest from pro wrestling, including the only place to get 100% verified wrestling news. PWRshow.com. PWRshow.com. Where you'll never find pop-ups or misleading headlines. Watch or listen to all of our latest TV and radio broadcasts on demand. And get caught up on wrestling news between episodes. PWRshow.com is the cleanest, friendliest, and most fan-friendly source for wrestling news on the web. Covering pro wrestling like no other. This is Monday Night Meltdown live on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Monday Night Meltdown. We're live on Blog Talk Radio. It's Monday night, January 9, 2012. Dameon Nelson here with David Hero. I don't know why I almost called you John Cena. I don't know where I got that from. You know, we talked earlier.
Because you can't see me, that's why.
We talked a little earlier about if there were any problems with Raw tonight. I think there was only one small glitch, one small error, and that was we did not get to see the Intercontinental Champion Cody Rhodes.
Well, okay.
Let's go around the room. Let's go around the room, and I want to hear from the rest of the PWR correspondents, analysts about tonight's Raw, because I think it was an active Raw, one that is definitely subject to opinion by all of you. We're going to get to your phone calls in just a minute, but first, Matthew Thomas, our Smackdown expert, tonight on Raw. What would you say was the highlight for you?
The highlight for me was taking a journey to Planet Funk.
Yes.
I thought it was one of the best Raws I had seen in quite some time.
Wow, that's a bold statement. And
yeah, I greatly enjoyed it.
And Dwayne Williams, our Impact expert, our TNA wrestling expert, a man who may soon be losing Ric Flair from his particular company. Dwayne, what'd you think about tonight's Raw? What was the highlight for you?
Highlight definitely was the announcement of the Four Horsemen to the Hall of Fame.
And your thoughts on the trip to Planet Funk tonight?
That was actually my low light.
Really? Wow, you're that guy. Why so?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling that. What, you know? It's just like the 2012 Flash Funk. I'm not feeling it.
Ooh, Flash, you are so funky. Linda, I know you weren't one of the Funkettes, but I do know you were considered for that role. What did you think of Raw tonight and Brodus Clay coming back to WWE?
Well, I will say Raw was definitely a pass. Highlight for me was the destruction from Kane, just the damage and destruction he left tonight. You know, the whole thing with John Cena, it hits me a lot, you know.
All right.
I'm a fan, so let's see where this takes me. But Brodus Clay, I love it. Why not? Something different. I mean, yeah, it's really reminiscent of Flash Funk and stuff, but
somebody call my mama. Somebody call my Mama. I missed that theme song. I'm going to say that out loud. I missed that theme song, and it was great to hear Dak. Now, let me be real here, because we are, entertaining, informative, and real. When that first happened, my chin was dropped. I'm like, oh, what is this? And then
I was hot about it.
As Brodus sold it more and more, once he was in the ring, I'm like, huh. And then when you could hear him talking in somewhat of a jive speak, courtesy of Barbara Billingsley during the matchup, that's what sold it for me. And I'm like, by the end of that match with Kurt Hawkins, I'm like, yep, that's the guy. And now that we've got everybody on the phone, ladies and gentlemen, I have a major announcement here from the Pro Wrestling Report live on Monday Night Meltdown. Are you ready, Kane? Are you ready, Matthew? Are you ready, Linda? Are you ready, David?
We're ready.
Oh, yeah.
I am here to officially endorse a new talent. Now, these endorsements don't come lightly. Cody Rhodes on the list, Dolph Ziggler on the list, The Miz on the list,
Rob Terry,
Crimson on the list. Ladies and gentlemen, and Heath Slater's on the list too. Ladies and gentlemen, I am hereby stamping and endorsing Planet Funk, Brodus Clay. You know it. Just did it.
Come on, really?
Oh, yeah, I'm endorsing them. That is money. Planet Funk shirts. Have them out next week. They're going to be moving off the shelves. Brodus Clay will be something. Planet Funk will be something in WWE. Mark it. It's done. It just happened. Ha ha! Matthew,
well, yeah, of course they're going to do something. I mean, if you think about it, for every time they book Brodus Clay, they're paying for 3 plane tickets. Just they got to fly in the 2 dancers also. So they're going to have a whole lot of money invested into this guy. They're going to do something good with him.
Brodus Clay, endorsed. Matthew, we'll talk to you in a few minutes about Smackdown. Dwayne, we'll get with you and the man they call Dead in a little while talking about TNA Genesis. And Linda, you'll have the news for us. I understand some interesting stories on the news list from the news desk coming up later on in the program. Thank you guys for your contributions. And now let's go to the phones, David Hero. And there are some instructions that we ask you all to follow to make this go as easily as possible so we can get as many people on the line as possible. Here we go.
The Monday Night Meltdown phone zone is now open. Give us a call live at 1-877-317-9772. And be sure to press 1 to get in where you fit in and be part of tonight's live show. We'll call on you by your area code, and when you hear it, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Then proceed with your question or comment.
That's right. It's time to hop into the phone zone, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to our first caller, calling us from the 517 area code. Caller, you're live. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Eric from Planet Funk.
Is that anywhere near the AA Ranch?
Oh, man, you'd like to think that almost, wouldn't you? But no, it's a little bit far. How are you gentlemen tonight?
Couldn't be any better.
Did I hear correctly? Did I hear that? Fantastic, yes. Did I hear that Meathead's going to be on the program?
Unfortunately.
Oh, man, I give you like 3 thumbs up for Meathead. I love Meathead. But anyways.
Have you seen his other fan? Have you seen his other fan lately, Eric?
Yeah, I've actually seen quite a few of them. I know, shocking. But on Planet Funk, we idolize this man. But nonetheless, I'll get to this so I can get some other callers on the line here. This Brodus Clay thing, my jaw dropped also at first, and I'm a huge Brodus Clay fan, and he's never going to be world title material with this gimmick, but at the same time, this is going to keep him hot and on the card, and it was really nice also seeing probably my favorite wrestler right now, Dolph Ziggler, show what he can really be, and he had that Kurt Hennig look to him tonight. It was very nice to see something like that, and see that Raw tonight was about it looked like a 1993 to 94 show. Very nice, but I should probably ask you guys a question, which would be, now that it's locked in today, Undertaker versus Triple H is official for WrestleMania this year.
According to who?
The Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer, reported on it earlier.
Wow.
And where do you see the whole Brock Lesnar thing fitting in? Because he's officially okay to show up on WWE TV. They're going to try to push him, apparently, for the network. Do you see him trying to do some kind of maybe verbal exchange with the Undertaker by any chance?
Thanks for that call, Eric. David Hero, you said last week, I think either on this program or on Primetime, that yes, we probably would see Brock Lesnar in WWE at some point. Here's the thing, Brock is not, he can't just come back next Monday on Raw and have a match the following Monday or at the Royal Rumble. I would not be surprised at all to see Brock as a surprise entrance into the Royal Rumble, which would be monstrous. And I would question now, I'll let you answer this, David Hero, is it better to announce Brock if he were to participate in the Rumble or to have him as a surprise entrance, which we've been conditioned to expect surprise entrance at the Rumble each year?
Well, you know what? I guess when it's someone like Brock Lesnar, you almost want to announce it just to pick up some more pay-per-view buys. I mean, get the buzz going. Oh, there he goes back to wrestling. But at the same time, I mean, he could be a surprise, and the crowd would go nuts for it, and will make it want to tune into Raw the next night. But, you know, you can't go wrong either way because the Royal Rumble sells pay-per-view buys to begin with, and it always does well. It's always one of the top 3 pay-per-views of the year for that company. But from everything I've been told, everything that I've heard, it's pretty much in Sharpie, Triple H and Undertaker this year. I don't see Brock Lesnar getting involved unless he's a special referee in that match.
All right, Eric, for that call from where he said was. Let's go to another caller. Our next caller comes to us from the 269 area code. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm David, and I'm not calling from the funk world.
All right, David.
From Michigan, actually. Raw was actually really good tonight. And there's so much stuff I want to talk about, but we only got so much time. So I'm going to talk about Daniel Bryan. And what do you guys think about Michael Cole, who's always been down on him ever since he's been there, maybe somewhat teaming and help getting him over even more as a heel?
It seems as if the train has left the station towards Daniel Bryan's heel turn. And let's not forget his work as a heel in Ring of Honor, for those of you that were exposed to it. He's good at it. He's great at it. But the thing that struck me most tonight, and I'm just being frank here, nobody in Corpus Christi cared about Daniel Bryan when he came down to the ring.
Nobody. And that right there tells you something about what direction they're going to go into as far as with Smackdown. I don't think they can afford to keep the title on Bryan Danielson for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
He's their top guy in SmackDown. He's their champion. He's the guy that's supposed to, be leading that brand. And when you got Sheamus and Wade Barrett and Big Show getting a better reaction, hell, I'll even put Cody Rhodes in there, getting a better reaction than your current world champion. You can only run with that for so long.
Let's go to our next caller, calling from the 407 down in the Orlando area. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Glenn from Orlando.
Hey, Glenn, we haven't heard from you in a while.
I know, it's been a minute.
What do you have for us?
3 million boxes of John Cena Fruity Pebbles. Yes, it's true. Now, here's my question. How come Michael Cole is still commentating when he would be a better asset as a manager for a face or a heel?
Thank you for that call and that question, Glenn from down in Orlando. Michael Cole was tolerable tonight. There was a definite noticeable tone down, I think, of his rhetoric, and I think it contributed overall to the show. Now, he still put in a couple jabs here and there, but I got to say Cole did a good job tonight. But we've talked for a very long time about this, David. Michael Cole would be an excellent manager, a heel manager, or a voice piece, if you will, for somebody else. I just don't know if that person's there yet, and if they have a suitable replacement. Now, I enjoy Josh Matthews' work on SmackDown, and Josh Matthews is an amazing broadcaster because he can go from the play-by-play to the color roll very, very fluidly. But that whole commentary position in WWE is a very cherished one and a very high-stress position. And Kevin Dunn, Vince McMahon, everybody else in WWE has to feel very, very comfortable with the person in that chair on Raw on Monday nights. And I'm not sure they have that other person who could take that spot yet, aside from the obvious, that is Jim Ross. And clearly WWE does not want to go in that direction.
You know, Dameon, you're right. Michael Cole would be a great mouthpiece for Daniel Bryan. And I think the two of them together can be a great neutralizer for the Big Show. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
I think the two of them being annoying with their peskiness and their size and just whatever else, I think that would be... I'm going to say Michael Cole could be a difference maker, but in a feud with Big Show, with him helping DBD, I think Michael Cole can be the X factor and the difference maker in that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that call, Glenn from down in Orlando. We're moving through these calls. We're actually only about 8 minutes behind schedule. That's a good thing, David Hero. We're going to be talking about SmackDown in just a minute with Matthew Thomas. But let's go to our next caller, who's calling us from the 816 area code. Caller, you're live. Where are you calling from, and what's your name?
What is up? This is Giovanni from Kansas City again.
All righty.
I thought tonight's Raw was good. I'm on a flight. I'm on a flight to Planet Funk. I'm instantly
Yes!
a Brodus Mark.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad to see something different instead of like a big and indestructible tank character. And the low light, at least for me, was that John Cena, and I know he's been a babyface throughout, but it seems like the slow burn of John Cena's heel turn just kind of went out like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Then thinking about it, though, could that be just to piss guys like me off, to kind of tease us, and kind of, how can I put this?
You guys are missing it. You're missing it. It's still going to happen, but he's going to turn the heel on Zack Ryder, his buddy, his BFF. That's the... You know... Kane is there playing mind games. Eventually, Cena's going to snap. And who is the person you always hurt the most, the one that you care about the most? And obviously, John Cena cares a lot about Zack Ryder, and that's the guy he's going to burn. That's the guy that's going to be the victim, I guess you could say.
Speaking of Zack Ryder, I like this whole Zack Ryder Eve where it's going, this whole Kane kidnapping thing. I can see this turning into a Ryder looking to be like a stud in the end and saving even Kane.
You know, the only thing I thought was missing, Giovanni, and thanks for that call, the only thing I thought was missing was maybe if Kane had gotten in the Kia Soul instead and he was the chauffeur for Eve and Zack Ryder, and when they got in the car, he turned around and said, "Where to, Eve?" Well, his brother did it. Thank you for that call, Giovanni. I want to, obviously, big college football game tonight. I want to throw congratulations out to Nick Saban, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're the national champions, David Hero, that BCS championship game tonight.
They did a tremendous job. They shut them out, didn't they?
I don't know the score. Intern just handed me a piece of paper that said they won. Why you always got to ask for details and specifics? I was looking good there for a minute.
Bro, it's all about details. Everything is about details.
Let's go to our next caller, calling us from the 614 area code. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, guys. This is Adam from Columbus.
Hey, Adam.
Well, the reason why I wanted to call tonight is because I'm actually currently on the plane to Planet Funk.
Do you hear what's happening, David Hero? Do you hear this? Just that fast.
Absolutely.
People are jumping on board. An overwhelming success.
Wow. You know what's kind of funny, if you think about it, though, is last night on the Genesis pay-per-view, the Pope's kids were kind of dressed like the dancers with Brodus Clay.
Yeah.
The Funkettes.
I just really wanted to call tonight because I just to express how happy I am that finally the Four Horsemen are going into the Hall of Fame. I feel especially happy for Arn Anderson because it's just been like watching like getting your teeth pulled, waiting for someone who's been so deserving.
Yeah, definitely. And all those guys that we talked about or that were mentioned as part of the Horsemen are definitely deserving. Now, David Hero, one thing just struck me. We're going to be at WrestleMania, obviously. We're going to be in Miami for about a week and a half with preparation. And by the way, I guess maybe since, big news with the endorsement, we could tell everybody that the prime time on the Saturday before WrestleMania is going to be live from Miami on My 24 Milwaukee.
Live from Miami.
Live from Miami, prime time Saturday night. It's going to be right after the Hall of Fame, and that Hall of Fame is going to be interesting. And we've got to really reconsider whether or not we're going to need a chaperone, because now the Horsemen, all of them, are going to be in Miami for WrestleMania, and moderation is not a word that some of us are familiar with.
I'm just concerned if you and Ric Flair get that bottle of Jameson, what's going to happen?
Well, last year I finished 3/4 of it. He took only 1/4 of it because he had been drinking all day. I got there a little late, but it'll be fine. The interns will keep.
And let's not forget about Friday night, our big party.
Well, the details coming soon. Those of you who bought Sweet and Sexy with Pro Wrestling Report did get some details on that huge party, and our partner for that party, WrestleZone, coming up on March the 30th, I believe it is, Friday night in Miami on South Beach. Oh, yeah, that's going to be fun. We're going to get to the rest of your phone calls here after we talk about Smackdown and go to the news with Linda. So those of you who are on hold, stay on hold. We've got a number for you to call to be a part of the program as well. That's 877-317-9772. A lot to discuss, including Smackdown, last night's Genesis, the news with Linda Kay, and more of your calls. This is Monday Night Meltdown, live on Blog Talk Radio from the Pro Wrestling Report.
Monday Night Meltdown continues after this, live on Blog Talk Radio. Stop stalking your ex and be our friend on Facebook and join the tremendous worldwide discussion. Facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. Monday Night Meltdown continues with a look back at last week's WWE Smackdown broadcast in the Smackdown Meltdown.
Well, Matthew Thomas, take it away, our new analyst who debuted on the Meltdown last week. Last week's Smackdown, Friday Night Smackdown on, on Sci-Fi. Tell us what we saw.
We opened the first Smackdown of 2012 with Cody Rhodes versus Booker T in a match for the Intercontinental title.
Matthew, let me correct you. We opened the first Smackdown of 2012 with Cody Rhodes dominating and kicking Booker T's ass. That's the way it went, right?
It's somewhat objective. It was about half and half, I'd say. It was a decent enough match. It's definitely no need to revise any history books over it. I don't think it's any danger of a match of the year candidate. But in the end, we did see Cody going over Booker T clean in the middle of the ring, and which should certainly be the finale of that feud.
Now I gotta ask you this, David Hero. You, of each of these three matches or so that Booker and Cody have had, you have said that Booker T is not going to lay down for Cody Rhodes. He's done so 3 times now. Were you mistaken, wrong, or misinformed?
I would say I'm mistaken.
Yes! He admits it, ladies and gentlemen. 1-9-12. He admits it.
Bro, mistaken is not being wrong.
Oh, yeah. Matthew, continue, please.
So Cody victorious over Booker T, and then after the match, we got a little backstage segment with Cody and Dustin once again. So it definitely seems that's the direction we're going in. And
Cody's been, not Cody, but Dustin's been lobbying for that matchup at WrestleMania. I don't know if it going to be, it has to be Goldust, you would think, if it indeed does become that matchup going against Cody Rhodes.
Oh, my God, if it's Cody and Goldust at WrestleMania, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely looks like an interesting feud. I could even see having Goldust, having Dustin too, from time to time, having him come as Dustin on certain Smackdowns and then having him come out as Goldust. I mean, it's tons of directions that could go. I think it's definitely going to be if it's a WrestleMania bill, it will definitely be several good months of programming.
All right.
And Dameon, would you be happy with that at WrestleMania? Would you be happy with Goldust versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year?
I would be fine with it, I think, if they built it up properly and had Dusty involved. And, here's a great opportunity. Maybe another Marlena gets involved. Cody can bring her back and talk about that whole thing. Oh, woman, won't you marry me now?
Believe me, that's going to happen if it's going to be Cody versus Goldust. I guarantee Marlena will find a way to be involved somehow.
Yep.
There's definitely a story to be told, and if they do it right, I think it could definitely be entertaining. And we also saw this week on SmackDown Hornswoggle versus the Dameon Nelson endorsed Heath Slater in an over-the-top rope challenge that actually saw Hornswoggle eliminating Heath Slater.
Yeah. So moving on.
Of course. There might be a little something to come out of it for you, Dameon. We did have after the match, of course, Heath Slater was a little upset about the outcome, so we had a Heath Slater beatdown of Hornswoggle, and at this point I'm a little concerned about a potential Sheamus run-in, because as I talked about last week, it does concern me when I see Sheamus and Hornswoggle palling around a little too much, but thankfully it's Justin Gabriel instead to save the day, and setting up what looks to be a little mini Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel program. There might be a little FaceTime for Heath Slater there, Damien.
I'm fine with that. Slater got some mic time, 2 weeks ago also on SmackDown. So, coming back off of a suspension, and, of course, everyone in the office knows I endorsed him, and that plays into, obviously, how much TV time he's going to get. We'll see what happens. Now, I would be the first to admit that of my endorsements, Heath Slater is the least performing of them thus far, but he had a setback that none of the other endorsed talents have had to endure, so we'll see what happens over the course of the next few months.
Yeah, and it gives both him and Gabriel something to do here for a little while. So hopefully something good will come out of it. We also had Ted DiBiase versus Unico with Camacho, and once again, very impressed with Unico this week. As Unico comes out, we find out that he and Camacho are a little upset that they haven't been invited to any of the Ted DiBiase parking lot parties, so they've got a bone to pick with Ted. And you got to think. I mean, SmackDown, the parking lot the day of a SmackDown, you got Ted DiBiase grilling out. You've got Unico and Camacho cruising around the parking lot on their bicycles. I mean, it's got to be a sight to be seen.
They're custom bicycles.
The custom bicycles, excuse me, and we did get a little another history lesson concerning bikes this week too. So, but again, I was very impressed with Unico. He actually went with a great looking a pin submission combo that I had not seen before. It looked actually really cool. So another impressive showing by Unico. And I got to tell you, I think they must have listened last week, because my only grievance with the whole custom bike thing was that they did not ride it up the ramp. And this week, sure enough, Unico actually rides the bike back up the ramp.
Nice.
So I was pretty excited about that. It wasn't they didn't both ride it back up the ramp, which was what I was really hoping for. But maybe on a pay-per-view or something right there. So.
Yeah. And what was the explanation we got for Randy Orton? I understand that we were told that he is out for an undetermined period of time, but no specifics given. And I guess the real backstory there is nobody really knows how long it's going to be. There's been reports of 6 weeks. There's been reports of up to 3 months.
Yeah, we had an interesting Wade Barrett promo where he actually alluded to Randy Orton having to sit with the fans in St. Louis during the Royal Rumble this year. So could we potentially see maybe a surprise Royal Rumble entrant Randy Orton?
It's in St. Louis. He's got to be there some way, somehow. I mean, David, chime in here. I don't know how you can have the Rumble happen in the hometown of one of the most over stars in the company and not have him appear.
I don't see why Randy Orton can't win the Rumble.
Whoa! Wait a minute. Shut your mouth. What?
Seriously, why not? The crowd will go nuts. It's exactly what he needs right now at this point of his career if he's healthy enough to come back.
Yeah.
He needs that. He needs it. I mean, he needs to win the Rumble. He needs to get the great crowd reaction, and he needs to go into WrestleMania and have a 5-star match. Because right now, Randy Orton is the lost man at WrestleMania. He is number 5 from the top at best right now.
Yep. Matthew, if you had to say what the highlight and low light of this Friday SmackDown was, what would you say?
The highlight for me, they actually did a pretty good job this week of kind of developing the undercard. You had the storyline with Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel. You also had something that's somewhat surprising to me, a little story developing with Tamina and Natalya, which one of the only storylines involving the Divas here in recent memory that has not revolved around the Divas title. So a little bit of development there, and you do have also a new assistant to the general manager in Santino Marella. So some pretty cool things coming out of SmackDown this week. As far as a low light for me, I'm still trying to digest exactly what I think about the whole Daniel Bryan heel thing. It's something for him at least. The last couple of weeks since he's won the title, it seems like he's been in almost a little bit of this kind of character development purgatory, if you will. He's been this pest-like face champion that just really. It really hasn't seemed like they've done anything to make him stronger.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised to see that direction, but the more I think about it, at least it's something. It's not this this middle kind of weak ground where it seems he's been the last couple of weeks. So.
All right. Well, Matthew Thomas, a great report as usual, talking about last Friday's WWE SmackDown. And Matthew, new to Twitter, you can follow Matthew Thomas on Twitter and hear his thoughts on professional wrestling. I believe it's at @TheRealMThomas on Twitter.
You got it.
All right, Matthew, thank you very much for chiming in and talking about SmackDown this week. Let's now find out what all this week's latest and greatest headlines are.
It's time for the week's headlines, brought to you by PWRshow.com, the only wrestling website with verified pro wrestling news, along with the first look at all of our episodes. Let's go to the news desk with the lovely Linda Kay.
All right, Linda, take it away.
All right, welcome to the PWR News Desk for Monday, January 9th, 2012. I'm Linda Kay, and let's get to this week's wrestling headlines brought to you by PWRshow.com. WWE releasing a new Edge DVD in April. WWE will be releasing a new DVD on retired superstar Edge on April 10th, 2012.
Well, isn't that convenient? April 10th is when it comes out?
Oh, yes, April 10th.
I mean,
right
again,
after WrestleMania.
WWE is just so brilliant when it comes to making money. Are they not, David Hero?
That's all they know how to do is make money. Everything they do, they make money at. Well, almost everything.
Wow.
The DVD, which is titled You Think You Know Me, The Edge Story, will chronicle Edge's career in the business. The DVD will also have wrestlers who worked with Edge throughout his career.
Wasn't there already an Edge
and
DVD?
Was it?
Wasn't there already an Edge DVD? I thought there was. 10 decades or 10 years of decadence or something like that.
Yeah.
Decadence and Edge? I think you're right. A decade of decadence.
He's right. That should be a good DVD. It should fit perfectly with his induction into the Hall of Fame. That's great.
Yeah. And in other news, U.S. Republican Rick Santorum revealed to have worked with WWE. Rick Santorum.
Oh.
United States Republican Rick Santorum was in the news again this past weekend, and it was also revealed that he has worked for WWE in the past, lobbying and doing legal work for the organization. And Santorum himself has stated that he is a pro wrestling fan.
Santorum. Is that the guy that won in Iowa? David, you're the one that
I think he was like 8 votes short of winning in Iowa, yes.
Wow, he was a lobbyist for that's tremendous. Good for him.
Yeah, see? Right? There's a little bit of love there.
Well, he doesn't love black people on welfare, but, I mean, his words, not mine. His words. That's what he said.
Dameon?
That's what he said.
Come on, Bo.
Really? That's what he said.
And in other news, TNA cancels its German tour. TNA Wrestling issued the following statement regarding the European tour that takes place in late January. The Impact Wrestling World Tours in Germany have been canceled. Tickets can be refunded at point of purchase, end quote.
What?
Shooter Promotions. Shooter Promotions, the local promoters for the Germany tour, sent out a statement shortly after clarifying why the tour was canceled, saying, due to the unexpectedly poor clearance sales, the planned 3 TNA wrestling shows are canceled. The already purchased tickets can be returned to their respective box offices, end quote.
They said, due to unexpectedly poor clearance sale, they did. I guess maybe they did only sell 6 tickets, David. Now here's another instance, though. Remember that whole South America debacle? That tour getting canceled as well because they had basically sold the shows to a different promoter, which isn't bad business, by the way. But their name's on this stuff, and now they've got South America. They've also got now this German tour, both canceled and done so by the promoters, and done because, well, they couldn't sell any tickets. That's a shame.
Well, and here's the thing, hashtag tic-tac-toe sign. Other countries, other investors, when they hear another international tour was canceled, it's going to be harder to sell it.
Yep. Why was it canceled? Well, due to low tickets. Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. And in more TNA news, TNA Impact Wrestling is to be filmed in London, England this month. TNA President Dixie Carter announced via Twitter and Facebook that TNA Impact Wrestling will be filmed in London, England on January 28th. Carter took to the internet to say, and I quote, "Big news for TNA. We will film Impact from Wembley Arena in London on January 28th. Cannot tell you how excited I am. Details
when did
to follow."
When did she send that out? When did she send that out? Last week? Here, look, okay, this is huge. This is great news for TNA. It's in less than a month. Good luck promoting it. But, okay, what we talked about a minute ago, David Hero, WWE knows how to do nothing but what? Make money. There would have been on Impact last Thursday maybe, and maybe it was. I didn't catch all of it. A big video promo. This is huge. This is big deal. Wembley Arena, live, London, January 28th. Impact Wrestling, live on the road. Did we get it on Twitter and Facebook?
But, bro, it's
That's
because
Bush League.
that stuff was taped 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but they can still insert a spot. They can still insert a voiceover. They can still insert graphics.
Well, that would make way too much sense. Come on.
All right.
Just saying, you know what? It's going to be interesting to see who's all going to be on that overseas tour. Because from what I'm reading from other superstars, other TNA stars and knockouts, not everyone's going to be on the tour. So they better make sure they bring out all their big players, all their big guns. I can't imagine Sting going across the pond.
Oh?
Yeah, they're going to need Sting. They're going to need Hulk Hogan, Jeff Hardy, Bobby Roode. Jeff Jarrett's off to be. They need a Ken Anderson. More. They're going to need so many people to fill up Wembley Stadium. It's going to be. Think about it. British Bulldog and Bret Hart sold it out. I don't know if TNA has those kind of horses.
Oh, it's Wembley Arena. And I think you have the seating capacity.
Oh,
the arena, yeah. WWE hosted several events at the arena prior to the O2 Arena opening several years ago, but Wembley Arena can hold 12,500 fans.
Which is 3 times more than their biggest show ever.
Okay.
Right? But I bet you overseas they'll probably do it. I bet you they'll sell a ton of tickets because, it's the overseas market always draws well for TNA and the E.
And it's going to transition greatly on television because that could end up being, I think they're doing 2 weeks over there, even though, David, I think you had some breaking news earlier, some hot news, if you will. TNA canceling several of their tapings in Orlando as a direct result of this big taping over in London.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, how it's going to translate. over TV from over there. I mean, you got to figure that the British Invasion is going to be getting a bunch of TV time.
Well, it could be why we saw Magnus on the pay-per-view this past Sunday. It could be why.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far because Magnus is the guy that did the JOB on the pay-per-view. He's the guy that took the double choke slam, then pretty much no-sold it right afterwards. But, you know, like I said, it's going to be interesting. TNA needs to make sure all of their ducks are in line and have the best possible TV taping over there that they can.
Exactly. All right. And in other news, Antonio Cesaro debuts. Antonio Cesaro, a.k.a. Claudio Castagnoli, debuted for the WWE main roster during the weekend WWE house show in Jackson, Mississippi. Cesaro teamed with Michael McGillicuddy to lose to Mason Ryan and Alex Riley. Cesaro is best known for his
What? He lost to who?
Honor.
Mason Ryan and
Mason Ryan and Alex Riley.
Wow. You know, I think also, David, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Seth Rollins, formerly Tyler Black, also debut on a recent house show for WWE?
I believe he did. It had a great match with Tyson Kidd, from what I understand.
Yeah, and this Ring of Honor revolution is continuing in WWE. If you don't know Claudio Castagnoli, Antonio Cesaro, he has an amazing look. And he could be that next big thing in WWE. But they're pushing the play button on a lot of people down in Tampa, Florida. Rumor also has it, I think, that Steamboat's son, Richie Steamboat, is going to be called up very soon as well.
Nice.
Well, I hope some of these guys have a little more size. I mean, they need some larger than life superheroes. Is what they need.
And Castagnoli fills that role. He's probably the best of the bunch right now as far as look goes down there. That are ready for the big time in WWE, if you will. TNA's taping tonight.
What?
Sorry, go ahead, Linda.
Cesaro is best known for his time.
Apologies. Go ahead.
In Ring of Honor, where he teamed with Chris Hero before signing a WWE development deal. And lastly, the 2012 WWE Hall of Fame tickets have an on-sale date. Tickets for the 2012 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony go on sale on Friday with an online pre-sale occurring Thursday. The event will take place on March 31st, 2012 at the American Airlines Arena in Miami.
I think actually
where we will be.
I think it might be Saturday that they go on sale, but there will be, you're right, there will be pre-sales occurring on both Thursday and Friday, and it's always a great event, the Hall of Fame. Last year, David, I know you had to sit relatively close to Cody Rhodes, and Linda, I don't know how you did it, but you were sitting, a seat away from R-Truth and Zack Ryder. And of course, I was working. Again, you guys get all the perks, and I'm just schlepping around. But Hall of Fame always great, especially with the names announced tonight, both Edge and the four being inducted.
Very, very exciting. So, all right, well, then, that's the news for this week, and you can read more about these stories and much, much more at the online home of PWR, PWRshow.com.
Thank you very much, lovely Linda Kay, for the news this week on the news desk. Up next, we're going to talk about last night's TNA Genesis, more of your phone calls. This is Monday Night Meltdown from the Pro Wrestling Report, live here on Blog Talk Radio.
Monday Night Meltdown continues after this, live on Blog Talk Radio. Covering pro wrestling like no other, this is Monday Night Meltdown live on Blog Talk Radio. Now it's time to get the meltdown on last week's TNA Impact Wrestling, along with a preview of this Thursday's Sudden Impact Radio.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about TNA Wrestling Impact and Impact Wrestling's Genesis last night on pay-per-view. Dameon Nelson, along with David Hero, here on the Monday Night Meltdown, also joined live here on Blog Talk Radio now by the man they call Meathead, and Dwayne Williams, the host of Sudden Impact Radio, which can be heard every Thursday night right here on Blog Talk Radio from the Pro Wrestling Report. Welcome, Meathead. Welcome, Dwayne.
Dwayne, it's good to hear from you again. I haven't heard from you in 3 days.
Yeah. How's it going?
We're good. Dameon, it's been a long time. Hello, sir.
Hello, Meathead.
And Mr. Hero.
Yes, you got the name right. Thank God.
Hero part?
TNA Business last night on pay-per-view. Let's run down the matches real quick, and then I would like to get your thoughts on what you considered were the highlights and lowlights, both you, Meathead, and Dwayne. The TNA World Championship was on the line as Matt Hardy. I did that last night, too. Jeff Hardy. Matt Hardy's been in the news because his videos keep popping up on YouTube again. He's doing better. But Jeff Hardy versus Robert Roode, Bobby Roode for the TNA Championship. Matt Hardy wins. Jeff Hardy wins by disqualification over Bobby Roode. However, Bobby Roode is still the TNA World Champion. Kurt Angle defeats James Storm. Matt Morgan and Crimson, who's endorsed, by the way, defeats Samoa Joe and Magnus, the winners of the Wild Card Tournament, and Morgan and Crimson retain the Tag Team Championships. Abyss defeats Bully Ray in a Monsters Ball match, only to be taken out after the match by Bully Ray. Gail Kim retains the Knockouts Championship against Mickie James with Madison Rayne high above the ring in a cage. Gunner defeating RVD, RVD being stretchered out as a result of a DDT on the concrete from Gunner, who was accompanied to the ring by Ric Flair. Devon defeats the Pope as Devon's boys, if you will, go back with Daddy and their alignment with the Pope no more. The X Division Championship stays around the waist of Austin Aries as he averts disaster in losing that title against Kid Cass, Zema Ion, and Jesse Sorensen. So, Meathead, Dwayne, highlights, lowlights as far as you saw it from last night's TNA Genesis pay-per-view.
Dwayne, go ahead.
Well, I definitely want to say that I'm glad, for one, that we have hopefully seen the end of the Pope-Devon feud.
Amen, brother. Amen.
So I definitely think that that's something good that came out of last night. Also, Robert Roode retaining the title, I think, is a good thing.
You know, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that. You're right. TNA finally doing something about ending a feud. They had a feud run out, run its course, finished at a pay-per-view. Hopefully that's the end. You cut it right there. You move on to new stuff. And then, Robert Roode winning with, I'm not going to talk like Dave here and say shenanigans, but Robert Roode winning like a heel should. The cowardly disqualification, cheating way to keep his belt. Anything.
Well, he didn't win. He lost by disqualification.
Right. But what I'm saying, though, is he keeps the belt.
Right.
That's a win in his life. Doesn't matter if he gets, his hand raised at the end of the match. He keeps the belt.
What did Jesse Ventura always say? Win if you can, lose if you must. Always cheat, but don't you ever get caught.
Right. Well, he got caught, but he still has the belt. That's all that matters.
And, of course, that feud is going to be progressing. This will justify the next stipulation match that they have.
Absolutely. And, we've always said on this program, too, that the money is always in the face chasing the heel. So here you've got a guy that the fans are behind. The wrestlers, Sting is behind again. But he got screwed out of the match. So there's a way to milk this for more money and more pay-per-view buys, even though it may only equal 7 more buys, but still going to get some buys.
Well, all indicators are, because TNA is taping this week's Impact tonight, and while we're not spoiling anything, all indicators are is that Jeff Hardy may not have it so easy in getting another shot at Roode's championship against all odds in February. Somebody else might be in line for that.
It sounds like Hardy's going up against all the odds, but who's to say that he won't come out on top?
Who's to say? RVD being injured by Gunner. And I said this week, is anybody buying Gunner as this monster heel?
I don't know.
You know what? They don't have to make Gunner as a monster heel. They can make him like just a shoot fighting badass, like a Chris Benoit or how Kurt Angle was, how he would just take guys apart piece by piece.
It could.
That would be more believable.
But maybe Gunner can turn on Ric Flair and allow Ric to go to WrestleMania then.
Might be onto something there.
Yep.
I just don't think that Flair's giving him the proper rub. It's just, Flair's entertaining, and I just want Gunner to be gone off the screen.
Flair is miserable in TNA. He doesn't want to be there. When I was in, I think it was, Michigan for a run of house shows, I was sitting there talking with Rick, and all he could say to me was insufferable. this is insufferable. He
You know,
is absolutely miserable there.
He
and
wore
he wants
that.
to leave and he'll make some money.
He wore that on his face at Genesis last night, in my opinion. And, you know, it's the little things, and we talked about the details, but when Christy Hemme, who does a great job, by the way, announced Gunner, she said, and accompanied to the ring by Ric Flair. Now, you're talking Ric Flair. The way you announce Ric Flair is led to the ring by Hall of Famer Ric Flair, Gunner.
Right.
Flair gets first billing.
Well, that's the kind of introduction I would expect.
Well, you're not a...
Exactly, but let's think about it this way. I mean, it's not just TNA that's making Rick sad. I mean, I genuinely feel bad for the guy because of the things he's done in his life. He's wearing it on his face. That's life. That's not just TNA. It's actually his life that he feels bad about.
Arguably, I mean, he's got issues for that. There is no doubt, but I think the next chapter in Ric Flair's career became very clear tonight as the Four Horsemen were announced as inductees into the Hall of Fame this year. Flair is the Horseman. The Horsemen really put Flair on that national scale. He will be a part of that.
I mean, I don't know if you have the spoilers in front of you, but was Flair booked on the spoilers?
Let me check on that there and let you guys talk about the lowlights as we look at the details of what happened on Impact tonight at the taping.
Dwayne, start off with your lowlights. I've got one in mind.
Well, you know, a lowlight is the Abyss Bully Ray thing seems like it's going to continue. And I really wanted Bully Ray to move on into another program with somebody else.
Okay. Well, as far as the lowlights, I've got the fact that Samoa Joe and Magnus did seem like a team. Now they go up against this monster of a team that's only wrestled, one match after they won the belts? That's got to be a lowlight. If that monster team is still the champions, now what do? They just beat the most formidable opponent they had, and now they have nothing left.
Sure they do. They have ODB and EY.
Well, I mean, of course we want that more and more on television, but that can't be the most, because if EY and ODB can beat Magnus and, Matt Morgan and Crimson, then what does that say about Magnus and Joe?
You know, they could eventually go into a program with Daniels and Kazarian, and I think the four of those guys could have some amazing matches where it's almost like it's a Shawn Michaels versus a Diesel match where the smaller aerial guys create all the motion in the ring around like Morgan and Crimson, and they could have some very solid tag team matches, and that might be a direction they want to go in, because right now Daniels and Kaz don't have anything except for a feud with the AJ Styles, you know, on the horizon.
Right. And that's it, though. I mean, I was glad that TNA did have these, 2-3 months, the Pritchard era, if you will, of this kind of solid booking where you saw where it was going, it was moving along, but last night felt like the end to a lot of it. So what's next?
I will say that Ric Flair is going to be part of TNA television over the course of the next 2 weeks, to answer your question, David Hero.
Can you imagine, I mean, if Dixie didn't know about this ahead of time, and now everyone's wondering, oh my God, is Flair going back, and all of the paranoia that's setting in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it when Haku showed up at the Royal Rumble while he was still the current WCW Hardcore Champion. Same kind of deal.
Yep.
Well, with all due respect, you're comparing Ric Flair to Haku. As much as I love Haku, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, Haku, but it's the same type of scenario. Now, we're not comparing men. We're comparing scenarios.
Well, overall, TNA Genesis last night was voted on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. We asked all of you out there to give it a passing or a failing grade, and the results are in as to what you all thought of the pay-per-view. It's pretty much split right down the middle, about 51% with fail, about 49% with pass, the same results we had on there last night. So a couple of comments, though, or at least one comment we got on our Facebook page as well from Lee Chamberlain, who says it was the best TNA pay-per-view in a long time. Great variety of matches, special shout-outs to the Hardcore match and Divas match, but Hardy and Rude stole the show. TNA bottled that crap because Rude and Hardy were magic. They got some time in that main event matchup. They delivered, I thought, in that main event matchup. But Abyss and Bully Ray had a pretty tremendous Monsters Ball match as well.
Yeah, and it's funny that we're hearing people talk about the main event being one of the show stealers of the night. Isn't that what your main event is supposed to do? Be the number one match of the night?
Yeah, but that usually doesn't happen in TNA.
Usually, but I'm telling you, it happened apparently. So.
You think last night's main event was the best match of the night?
No, I'm saying, though, it was one of the best. I mean, again, you're talking to a guy that watched WCW for a good portion of his wrestling life and being disappointed consistently by main events and, knowing that the best matches were the first 3 matches and then getting stuck watching Hogan, in the NWO beat up on a guy with spray paint for 10 minutes.
I believe the great and legendary Al Snow has always said, the best match of the night is not the best wrestling match. The best match is the one that draws the most money.
Oh, I believe that.
Well, none of them did that last night.
Oh, no, but there was one match that the people paid to see. Out of all the matches on that show, it was probably Jeff Hardy and Bobby Roode.
And it delivered.
So then that means that was the best match of the night.
We'll call that a consensus, and I want to thank you, Meathead. Thank you, Dwayne. And every Thursday night, you can join Meathead and Dwayne on Sudden Impact Radio. It's our TNA Impact Wrestling post-show Thursday nights at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time right here on Blog Talk Radio. Be sure to follow the show right here on Blog Talk Radio so you never miss an episode. The phones are blowing up, and we're running out of time, so we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to hop back into the phone zone here on Monday Night Meltdown from the Pro Wrestling Report.
Monday Night Meltdown continues after this, live on Blog Talk Radio. There's only one place to get the latest from pro wrestling, including the only place to get 100% verified wrestling news. PWRshow.com. PWRshow.com, where you'll never find pop-ups or misleading headlines. Watch or listen to all of our latest TV and radio broadcasts on demand. And get caught up on wrestling news between episodes. PWRshow.com is the cleanest, friendliest, and most fan-friendly source for wrestling news on the web. Subscribe to the Pro Wrestling Report on YouTube. We promise we'll never rickroll you, but we might just chokeslam you. Click the subscribe button now and be part of the revolution. Covering pro wrestling like no other, this is Monday Night Meltdown live on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. Monday Night Meltdown. What an active show it's been. Dameon Nelson joined here by David Hero. It's time to go back into the phone zone. We're going to be taking your calls. We want to hear what you have to say about tonight's Raw, last night's Genesis, or wrestling in general. Just a few minutes of showtime remains, so be considerate of the other callers. Try to get quickly to your question or comment and allow us to move on to the next phone call. There are also a couple more rules you got to follow, and here they go.
It's time for the week's headlines, brought to you by PWRshow.com. The only.
What are you playing, David? What's going on? That's not the right thing. It's the phone zone.
The Monday Night Meltdown phone zone is now open.
Here.
Give us a call live at 1-877-317-9772. And be sure to press 1 to get in where you fit in and be part of tonight's live show. We'll call on you by your area code, and when you hear it, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Then proceed with your question or comment.
All right, and with that being said, let's go to the phones. Let's go to our first caller, our next caller, who's calling us from the 574 area code. Caller from the 574, you're live.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Rob calling from Mishawaka, which is on planet Stasiak.
Oh, my!
Whose moon is planet Funk in the galaxy of parts unknown.
Oh, tremendous. What do you have for us this week? Sounds like you're a fan of Brodus.
I am a huge fan of Brodus.
Starting tonight or before tonight?
Back when he was on NXT.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
which, by the way, Brodus Clay was my favorite to win NXT that season.
Uh-huh.
Just saying, he's the biggest star than the guy that won it. Shocking.
Right. But yeah, I thought his debut, I didn't understand it when I heard Ernest the Cat Miller's music coming out.
One of the theme songs of all time, by far.
But I liked it, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Hall of Fame induction of the Four Horsemen, because they're inducting the original four and J.J. Dillon, but you also got to figure all the wrestlers that a lot of people want into the Hall of Fame that are now going to have a link into the Hall of Fame because they were in the Horsemen. So you got to figure Malenko, Brian Pillman, Sting, Sid Vicious, people like that.
Well, Rob, we did, and thank you for that call. We did talk a little bit about that earlier, and it's going to be, hell, they could pull it off. I mean, they're WWE. They can do pretty much whatever they want, but it's going to be difficult to, I mean, you can't have 15 people on stage, and some of those people basically were almost diluting of the Four Horsemen brand name. So I really think the people you saw on screen tonight, those are the ones that are going to
That's it.
On. Yeah. And
there's no Paul Roma. There's no Lex Luger. There's no Malenko. There's no Benoit. There's no Mongo. There's no Jeff Jarrett. There's no Kurt Hennig. None of them. It is the originals.
Yep. All right. Thank you for that call, Rob. Let's go to our next caller, who's calling us from the 219 area code. Caller from the 219. You are live here on Monday Night Meltdown.
No. Well, hello. This is Nicole from Northwest Indiana.
Hello, Nicole.
Hello.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi. Okay, my question. I have two quick questions. I want to know how much longer Rude would be probably champion for TNA, and then I want to know, where is Mr. Anderson? Is he still wrestling? What's going on with him?
All right, thank you for that call, Nicole. To the first question of Mr. Rude and his championship reign, TNA, as I talked about on the post show last night, they're invested in these stories that they're portraying, and those stories will continue. And I really think this is smart, and you got to attribute this to Bruce Pritchard, I would say, because they're letting it sink. They're giving it a chance to either sink or swim.
Be careful saying sink and TNA in the same sentence.
Oh, March.
Well, I think Bobby Roode, if done properly, can hold the belt until Slammiversary.
Yeah. Yep. And to the point of Mr. Anderson, that's a great question. Anderson doesn't look as if, from what we've seen in the spoilers, that he's going to be part of the program for the next couple of weeks, and that is a story that
let's
will
be honest.
At some point.
Creative obviously has nothing for their top three selling merchandise guy.
You talking about Colt Cabana and Marty DeRosa?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Let's go to our next caller, calling us from, looks like down in the Atlanta area, 770 area code. Caller, you're live.
Hey, this is Wesley from Decatur, Georgia.
Hey, Wesley.
Hey, I was saying, y'all was talking about Michael Cole becoming a manager for somebody. I think he would be good for Daniel Bryan.
Oh yeah, we talked about that earlier, and that would probably be the way to go. It'd be a little bit of a swerve, different from what everybody's been talking about, but it would give Michael Cole that chance to make Daniel Bryan, I guess, better, you could say. We'll see what happens over the course of the next few months and weeks with that. Let's go to our next caller. Thank you very much for that call, Wesley from Decatur. Let's go to our next caller, calling us from the 718 area code. Caller, you're live.
Yes, hi. How you guys doing today?
Tremendous. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Mike from New York City.
All right, Mike, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I just find it very interesting about hosting Impact and overseas at the UK. And if I'm right, I think the arena is about 5,000 to 10,000 people. It was just kind of shocking to me that they're going to hold one of their Impacts, and that's a huge number. I hope they succeed.
Yeah, I think they will, Mike, especially given the fact that it's in the UK or it's in London, and we have a lot of listeners from across the pond of this very program. I don't think they're going to have a problem filling that arena and having on TV what would look like a legit sellout. That's going to be huge for TNA. TNA's been very smart overseas. They've really capitalized on that overseas market, and I think this is going to be a home run for them. But can they capitalize on it after those 2 weeks of TV? We'll find out. Thank you for that call, Mike, out in New York, and we're just running through the calls here. How about another caller calling us from the 847 area code? Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is John from Chicago.
What up, John from the Chi? You going to the Resistance Pro show this Friday night?
Oh, no, I'm actually an indie worker, and I actually have a booking in St. Louis, so I won't be able to do that.
All right.
My comment is for Chris, David Hero. Sorry, not Chris Hero. What am I saying? I'm correcting you on something you said.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Give me a... I'm correcting you. You said that Jericho did nothing new tonight. Well, he did. He did something completely new, and that was he cried.
New for Jericho or new overall? Because we've seen people cry in a wrestling ring before.
New for right now. Like,
okay.
he was happy before, and he came out all happy. He was smiling and kind of had that smile. But this week he came out, and he looked really depressed and sad. And I think they're going with the fact that...
Oh, he looked
sad.
so depressed, and he looked so sad, absolutely.
I think they're going with...
It was a mockery. He was making a mockery of the whole situation. That wasn't real tears. There's no tears coming out of his eyeballs.
That's the point. I think he's going to be like, I can get a reaction by doing nothing. It's really sad. I need to save wrestling. I need to save the business, and I'm going to win the belt. I think it's going to happen.
I honestly believe they're doing all this because they're afraid that if it's Jericho and Punk, that Jericho will get a better, bigger babyface reaction than the guy that they've invested millions of dollars into.
You're right. And how about that
and they're
reaction?
They're going to do everything they possibly can to make sure that Chris Jericho is booed. They will do everything they can to turn his fans against him because Chris Jericho isn't the guy that dropped the pipe bomb last June. It was CM Punk, and they gave that guy an opportunity to become a top star, and they got to make sure that the guy that's been gone for a year and a half, 2 years, doesn't come in and take that babyface heat away from him.
Thank you, John in Chicago, for that phone call. Let's go to our next caller calling us from the 302 area code. Caller, you're live.
Hey, how you guys doing? Just had a quick question in regards to the Four Horsemen and the induction into the Hall of Fame. If memory serves me right, weren't the original Horsemen Ric Flair, Ole Anderson, Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard?
You're exactly right. Ole Anderson, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make
sure. But here's the thing. Ole Anderson is not in favor of the office. They're not a big fan of him. And Barry Windham is an agent currently.
Gotcha.
So, it's more political than anything. I mean, Ole Anderson may eventually show up there, but I know that he never truly got along with Triple H and Vince McMahon.
Well, let's not forget, and it depends on how good a shape he's in. He is suffering from multiple sclerosis and has suffered from, he's got decreased mobility, and his memory may not be as good as it once was. So it may not be in anyone's best interest to parade him out on a stage in front of 15,000 people. But you are right. Ole Anderson was one of the original members of the Horsemen.
Right. So the lineup in the Hall of Fame is going to be Arn, Barry Windham, Flair, and Blanchard.
So it seems like...
JJ.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You think
All
J.J. Dillon's going to take off his shoe, David Hero?
I hope not.
Thank you for that last caller. And let's go to our next caller, calling us from the 301 area code. Caller, you're live. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right. How about a caller from the 901 area code? Caller from the 901. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, Dameon?
Uh-oh. Is it who I think it is?
It's your boy Curry here, man. How you been up to, man? How you been up to, man?
Fantastic, especially when I feel it. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. You are also looking for a plane ticket to Planet Funk.
Not really. I'm not a big fan of Flash Funk Jr.
There's nothing
I'm just kidding. Only thing that was good about those programs was the two girls there. I can use some girls like them, man, but in my business right now. But
your establishment?
My establishment.
Yeah, the Demon Lakers World Tour has to get done by you, man.
How often do you see Brian Lawler or Sid Vicious or Jerry Lawler in your establishment? Have they ever come by?
Hold on, I got a story about Sid Vicious, man, but I cannot tell you that. He involved his last time.
And second of all, Brian and Jerry, they prefer their girls in high school. So.
Oh man, almighty Lord, that's a good.
Hey man, but don't tell the secrets of Memphis wrestling about that. But let me tell you this. I want to tell you this, man. You should have. I was going to call last week, man, but I didn't get out of the arena till like 12 o'clock or something because the Memphis traffic was hell last week because of the Raw last week.
All right, what were your live thoughts on Jericho?
No, you want me to tell you what happened? That's what I was going to talk to you about, Jericho. Everybody knew it was Jericho in the arena. Everybody knew it was Jericho in the arena. I'm going to tell you how we knew it was Jericho. Because the people at the Memphis airport are so big, are so big fans, or so big time wrestling marks. Yeah. They had cameras there posted showing the people coming off the planes there.
Yeah, it was actually the Nashville airport where Jericho was flown into, about 220 miles away.
But I understand that. But we got people. But we got people. That's how big the marks is around this city, around the whole state, around the southeast. So that was, that was going to be posted out there somewhere. And he drove. You tell me that Jericho had to flew out of Nashville and drive that 200 miles to here? I feel sorry for him. Huh?
Somebody did.
Somebody did. They got to be so. But let me get back to this Jericho thing.
Please do.
When he came out, that was the greatest moment I ever seen Jericho did. He went from that 10 minutes. He went from the biggest excitement till the. Are you kidding me? Are you? I can't even cuss. I'm trying not to say any cuss words. I'm being professional.
Thank you.
But that's what I'm saying. And has it been confirmed that it's going to be? That's the rumors are that it's going to be Jericho and Punk.
I think that's the money. That's where the money is in those two. It's going to be fun getting there, and they can deliver a great match.
But that's my first thing. But this Planet Funk thing, this Flash Funk 2007, this Suge Knight, Flash Funk, Dusty Rhodes combination of Brodus Clay. I understand it. I don't like it. You turn a monster heel, a good talent, into Dusty Rhodes Flash Funk of 2012.
Hey, let's not forget though, Dusty Rhodes was over, Flash Funk was over.
Well, hold on. For how long, Dameon? How long was Flash Funk over, Dameon?
Well, about a
minute. He was over, a minute?
About a minute.
A cup of coffee, Dameon. Dusty Rhodes was over before WWE. Well, before his second run in WWE, he was gonna be over after he left WWE, and he's still gonna be over when he retires. That's Dusty Rhodes. Nobody knows Brodus Clay. Outside. I mean, when I mean nobody, I mean not the average wrestling fan.
But, Korea, listen, you got to remember this, and we're running short on time. I endorsed him, and once I endorse you, it's all uphill from there.
Well, what about Heath Slater? What about Heath Slater, Dameon?
I'm sorry?
What about Heath Slater, Dameon? You gave him the kiss of death.
David, did you hear my earphones are going out? I didn't hear. Who's he?
I said usually when you endorse somebody, they get a suspension shortly after that.
Yeah, you give him the kiss of death, Dameon.
I never endorsed Alex Riley.
No, you endorsed Heath Slater.
I didn't endorse Evan Bourne. I didn't endorse Mike Chioda.
You endorsed Heath Slater.
Oh, yeah, I did, yeah. Anyways, Terryhead, we are out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. Please give us a call next week. It's always great to hear from Curryhead from down in Memphis, Tennessee, right here on this very program. And, David, talk about an action-packed night. It was a very good Raw, and it feels damn good. I hope next week it continues. I like this time between the pay-per-views from WWE. I like what it allows us as fans to get. I like Brodus Clay. I like Big Johnny. I like the Kane Cena Ryder story. I like the build of Daniel Bryan. I'm liking a lot about WWE Raw, and they've got not just main storylines, but a lot of subs going on right now, too. That's strong. That's good TV. I think that's what we got tonight on Raw.
I thought Raw was where it had to be, and it's going to make next week that much more interesting because Brodus Clay is going to be on again next week, and let's see the progression. Let's hope that they don't job him out, right away because he did something stupid on Twitter or whatever else. But they're building stars going into WrestleMania. That's all you can ask for.
We want to thank everybody who joined us in the chat room on Blog Talk Radio. Some interesting discussion going on in there all night long. All of you follow us on Twitter. And it's funny watching on Twitter, David Hero, some 13,000 followers that we have on the PWR show Twitter account. People are turning the corner on this Brodus Clay thing. I got to venture to say it's because of my endorsement, but now one tweet just came over to me from Mr. Paul Briotti, says, I've had time to digest it, and I can't stop smiling. I'm on the train to Funky Town. It's interesting. Nobody's in the middle as it pertains to Brodus Clay. They either loved it or hated it, but guess what? They're talking about it, and at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that's all that matters. We're going to leave you at the end of this program, for those of you listening live, with a special treat, a little revisit of what we heard tonight on Raw. David, this Thursday, it's Sudden Impact Radio. Tomorrow, it's Ask the Booker, our online-only video edition where we answer a question from one of our great fans, and I believe the subject tomorrow is all about the current injury bug hitting WWE, specifically all the talents that are out right now and who may be stepping up or whom WWE may be finding to replace them. For Matthew Thomas, Dwayne Williams, the man they call Ted, Linda Kay, Did Hero, and myself, thank you for tuning in to Monday Night Meltdown. Thank you for making Monday Night Meltdown the #1 show on Blog Talk Radio and all of our sports programs for all week last week, and the #3 show right now on Blog Talk Radio. And you can keep supporting the show and be sure you never miss an episode by following us right here on Blog Talk Radio. We'll see you Thursday night on Sudden Impact Radio. Good night, everyone.
Don't forget to follow PWR right here on Blog Talk Radio right now. Be reminded of upcoming episodes and never miss Blog Talk Radio's most popular sports show. Follow PWR now.